so that way we can get in depth if anyone else wants to come in for the next class. And let's see.
I just started the stream, so this is KLK 12.5 FM. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Financial Freedom Seminar with Pedro Ramirez of Centennial Bank, and we're just so happy to have Pedro joining us here. We're actually inside of the new KLK conference room, and you see his presentation on the screen. Of course, you still have time to join us in person. We're at 1411 Franklin Street here in Jonesboro, and we've got some free cookies for anybody that stops by today. But if you are at work and you just can't get by right now, we do understand. That's why we are streaming this live, so that you can go back later. So I'm going to now turn it over to Pedro.
Hey everybody, my name is Pedro Ramirez. I'm with Centennial Bank. Thank you so much to Leganzi for helping us be here. And like he said, if you want to join us, we're at the KLK building over here. And if not, that's fine. Tune in. And also, February 3rd at 6 p.m., we're doing another round celebrating Black History Month. Leganzi was generous enough to let us have it in this building again. So we hope to see you there. We're going to do an overview today on the steps to financial freedom. So this is a very important part of everybody's life. As you know, financial freedom is one of the things that can lead to a peaceful mind. So we partner with GreenPath. We'll go ahead and get started here. We partner with GreenPath Services. They provide things such as financial assessment, homeowners counseling, credit report review, and debt management. They do a lot of good things, and they just have ready-to-go slides for us to review. So we'll go ahead and get started. And this is what we're going to discuss today. If you can see the screen, if not, I'll read it out loud.
Yeah, it's on. I've got it zoomed in. Yeah, it's looking pretty good on
awesome.
there. I mean, you can still read it, but
perfect. So we're going to discuss how do you set financial goals, how do you create a budget, and how do you use credit wisely. Again, this discussion is over steps to financial freedom. There's 10 steps, and they're all stacked on top of each other, and they're really play by play. And so step one to financial freedom is understanding your money personality. So have you ever wondered why you use money in a particular way, why you spend money in a particular way? There's many forces that impact that. I'm sure you know, Leganzi know, many people know. There's things such as advertisement, people around you, your friends, your family, things that you've wanted since you were a kid that impacts the way that you spend your money. Step one to financial freedom is understanding your money personality, how you spend money. Go ahead and get through. And so one good way of understanding your money personality is listing the products and services that you spend your money on. List the ways that you're a good spender and the ways that you would like to make changes in your spending habits. Go ahead and get through the next one. So you could be a hoarder, you could be a spender, you could be a planner, you could be a dreamer. You could be a risk taker or a risk avoider. There's plenty of ways that you can find out the way your money personality is. But again, all these steps stack on top of one another. So that's the most important thing to keep in mind. The first step in financial freedom is understanding your money personality. What is it that makes you spend money the way you do? And what is it that you want to be like? Do you want to save more? Do you want to invest more? You have to understand where you are first to understand where you want to go. After you've understood your money personality, and again, if you're following along online, feel free to contact me or Leganzi for a workbook of this where you can write things down or you can just review these as you go. So after step one, you have step two. Once you understand your money personality, you can start setting goals. That's the next slide here. So when you set goals, this is something that has been tried and true in every way of education that I've learned from middle school, high school to college, is setting these SMART goals. They're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable and realistic. So once you've understood your money personality, you want to set goals on specifically what is it that you like and what is it that you want to achieve. Let's say you want to go to a Disney World vacation. You want to save up so every time that your kid goes back to school that you have the funds for their backpacks and their activities. Maybe you want to save up for a family vacation. Maybe you want to save up for a luxury item for yourself. Whatever it is, you need to be specific in what you're doing. Then you want to have a measurable goal. You want to make sure that you know what your progress is so you can track it. That way, if you want to let's say you want to do a vacation, but when do you want to have a vacation? You want to have a vacation next year? All right, well, that's what you're going to measure it by. And you want to be reasonable and realistic. There's a lot of people who says that you want to aim for the stars and land on the moon. That's fine, I understand it. But at the same time, the more reasonable and realistic you are with your goals, the more likely you are to get to those goals, so then you can set more goals on how you get on there. So after you've understood your money personality, you can set goals to what you want to be like, and you can measure your goals and make sure that they're being realistic. And there's a couple of different goals that you can have. Some are short-term goals, some are mid-term goals, and some are long-term goals. One way that I love to explain goals in general and the long-term versus short-term goals is that an airplane isn't going to take off unless it knows where it's going to land. There's not going to be an airplane that's going to take off and just roam around through the air, not knowing when they're going to land. They first need to know their destination, and then they can take off and how to get there. Sometimes wind currents may change, and they may change their path a little bit, and that's fine. They know where they're going. So that's one of the biggest reasons that you want to set goal. Because if you want to get to a place, you first have to understand where that place is, and then you can take off with your goals once you understand your personality and once you understand what your goals are. So there's 3 different types of goals. There's short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. What I like to do is work backwards. So that way I can figure out what my long-term goal is. So for my long-term goal, I want to be able to take care of my mom and my dad. I want to be able to provide for them. So I know that's my goal for the next 5 years. That's my specific goal. I have it measured by a time frame, and it's realistic because I know that I can plan other goals to get there. So take care of my family is my long-term goal. I know my mid-term goal is to be successful in the business in order to be able to help them out with that. So I have my specific business goal, I have a measured time, and I have a realistic of starting a business. Go back to the slide that I was on. And then my short-term goal helps play into my mid and long-term goal. So I want to take care of my family. I need to start a business. I need to acquire those skills now to start that business, which means learning, education, specific goals over a measured amount of time that are reasonable and realistic. And you can do this for anything, whether it be family, business, relationships, saving up money, whatever it is. A good hack that I like to do is start my way backwards, so reverse engineer that. That was step 2. So step 1, understanding your money personality. Who is it that you are? Who is it that you want to be? Step 2, goal setting. You can't take off unless you know where you want to go. Step 3 is budgeting. These are getting more into the details of what it's going to take to achieve those goals. So whenever you're budgeting, there's certain things that you have to take into account, which is what your money's going to look like. The way that I always remember gross versus net is a way that one of my teachers taught me back in, I believe, middle school, which was gross is how much money you have before your taxes are taken out. Net is how much money you have after your taxes are taken out. And she always said, you can remember that because it's gross to see how much money you have if you didn't have any taxes taken out. You're like, oh, it's so gross. And net, that's after everything's taken out, after all the taxes switch through. Net is how much money you have after all the taxes have been taken out. So you want to use your net for your budgeting. A lot of institutions for loans, for mortgages, for cars are going to use their gross because they want to use the highest income possible. But our realistic, if you go back to that reasonable, realistic goal is using your net income. You want to write down your expenses and your debts for this. And there's a couple of words of wisdom that I have right here about budgeting. It says, and one of my buddies taught me this, and it's been tried and true. It's not how much we earn in this life. It's how much we spend that keeps us from achieving those goals. That goes back to your money personality, understanding who you are and who you want to be. And then lovely Sheryl Crow in her 2002 song called Soak Up the Sun. It's not having what you want, it's wanting what you got. So a great thing about budgeting that besides all the details of how much money you're using after taxes, what your expenses and debts are, is that a great hack to have a great budget is being happy with what you have and understanding then it's going to be a little tough to get there. I always equate it to a muscle. So if you want to build muscle, if you want to get some muscle up, if you want to get some strength, if you just keep on doing the same things that you always did before, you're going to stay on that same path. In order to grow muscle, you have to tear those fibers so that way they can grow back stronger. And that's what a budget is. That's what goals are. In order to grow as a person financially, you have to tear your belief of just limiting your expense a little bit so that way you can grow into a financial person that you want to be. And then these are just a couple of budgeting guidelines that anyone can take away. For your mortgage or your rent, you want to have 25 to 35% of your take-home net pay after taxes, 18 to 23% for food, 10 to 20% for debt, and 7 to 10% for savings. So that's a good budget guideline. The one that I like to go by too is a little bit more simpler. You may want to write this down if you're listening live. It's wants, needs, and savings. Usually do 50% for your wants, 50% for your needs. That can cover rent, that can cover food, things like that. 30% for your wants, for things that you want to buy, and 20% for your savings. If you can save that much for your savings, that's a huge goal to get to. If not, you can go for 7 to 10%, even 5%. Any little bit helps. You do have to start that tree. The best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best time is today. So we have step 1, understanding your money personality, who you are and who you want to be. Step 2, setting goals, so that way you know where you want to land so you can take off properly. Step 3 is budgeting, getting into those details and making that muscle stronger, that financial muscle stronger. And step 4 is saving, another thing that helps build that muscle stronger. So if you save to achieve, the first thing we do that we talked about in the last couple slides, if you want to include it in your budget. Second thing is you want to save up some emergency savings, and then you can save up for your most purchases. So one thing about financial freedom, that freedom is a key term. Financial is a goal. Freedom is a key word. Freedom is freedom of mind, freedom of stress, freedom of all of that. And saving is, like I talked about, is tearing that muscle apart. It hurts to save sometimes because you're not using that money towards your rent, you're not using that money towards food or towards something that you want to buy. It hurts to save because you can't use that money. But the more it hurts, the more you're going to grow from it. And if you include it in your budget, your discipline, it's going to stay there and you can constantly have that money that you're saving. And then this emergency savings is such a big part of financial freedom, because once you have 3 to 6 months, which is what's recommended for emergency savings accounts, built up, you have a freedom of mind, you have a freedom of a burden lifted off of your shoulders that now you know in case something catastrophic comes up or something that immediately requires some cash, some liquid cash, you know that you have that there. You don't have to dip into a credit card. You don't have to ask around for friends and family. You don't have to worry about how you're going to pay for that. And that's a freedom of mind that can't be granted by anyone except for you. And then after that, you want to save up for most purchases. That's when you can start to reward yourself a little bit. Reward yourself with hard work. What I mean by that is that it's still hard work to save, but you know that once you reach your goal of that purchase that you want, whether it be a bag, whether it be a trip, whether it be a dining experience, you know that you're hurting yourself by saving that money, but you're going to reward yourself by being able to experience that purchase fully. And then step 5 is we get into credit. So I'm going to go back through the steps again once I catch up with my notes here.
While you're doing that, I just want to say that this
Yes.
is definitely good information following along in the workbook. And for those watching online or those that will watch later, we do have extra copies of the workbook here at the studio. Pedro's going to leave them. If you want one, you can come by. And also, I'm sure, is there a version that I can email out if anyone requests one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can have a PDF version that I can email you. And again, please come out February 3rd, first Friday of February of Black History Month. We're doing another one of these classes where we can dive deep into this. I understand we're going over all this already. We're going to go over the same information on February 3rd, but instead of having a broad overview, we can really dig into the details and we can make sure we can plan for you right there ahead. It's February, it's still the new year, it's still new year, new me. We can still set those goals so that way February will be your January, you'll rock the year with these new goals. Step 5, using credit wisely. Credit, I like to explain credit as a Rubik's Cube. So sometimes, in order to fix a Rubik's Cube, you have to mess it up.
Which I could never solve one.
I know, I still haven't been able to, I have friends that do it so well. And I'll just look at them with just like satisfaction. I'm like, that is amazing that you can do that. I've always wanted to learn, haven't been disciplined enough to do it or had the time to do it. But if you can have good credit, you're solving a Rubik's Cube pretty much. Because sometimes you have to mess it up in order for it to get better. I know I did when I was younger. It took me a little bit to get better. So again, step 1 is understanding your money personality, who you are and who you want to be. Step 2, already forgot the steps. I ran through them so many times. And then we get to step 5, which is using your credit wisely. I think my computer's freezing up a little bit. There we go. All right. So building up through all of those steps, step 1 through 5, we get to using your credit wisely, which is understanding there's good debt and there's bad debt. You're able to review your credit report and handling debt problems. So the good debt is open revolving debt. That's your credit cards that are open, your student loans that are open that you may or may not be paying on, your car loan that's open. Good debt is anything that's in your open section that you're actively making payments on that doesn't have a high balance. Bad debt is things in your derogatory accounts, things that may be disputed credit cards, a repo, a card that wasn't opened by you that's now, it was an identity theft issue. Those are things like bad debt. And I want to skip real quick to the reviewing the credit report because COVID changed a lot of things. It changed your credit report too. It used to be you could only access your credit report once a year for free. They've changed it to once every week.
Oh wow, so that's something that I did not know.
Once a week you can go to annualcreditreport.com and get your full credit history. What most people won't tell you, that I'll be honest with you, that I'll tell you about, is that this website allows you to access your credit history for free. It doesn't give you your credit scores for free. If you want your scores, that website does have a paywall of around $7 to $8 per score to get. It's still
not that bad.
It's still not that bad, but you can at least access your history for free. And if you access your history, you can figure out a lot of things, which is one way to have good credit is have more open good credit reporting than bad credit reporting. If you have 3 bad marks on your account, get 4 good ones on your account over time, and that's going to outweigh the balance of where you have more good than bad. And then you want to be able to handle your debt problems, which goes back to that budgeting mindset, which is part of that savings and part of that money that you're setting aside is paying off your debt. And that's why it hurts sometimes, but that's what makes a muscle stronger, is by applying that pressure to it. And then step 6, we get to the American dream. The reason that my family came here is having a home sweet home. So we're going to talk about how much can you buy and your qualifying ratios. Again, if you want the details, if you want the specific, if you want to have your own personalized plan for yourself, February 3rd, come out here at the KLEK building with Leganzi and I. We're going to be redoing this section, and we can individualize and personalize these plans specifically for you. So, if you don't have a home, how much can you afford? And if you do own a home, what does it look like if you were to buy another house today, or if you were just to redo the process and go back today? These numbers are very low. It's 28% and 36%. What I'm going to say off the bat, that's an easier number to remember, is 45%. 45. So if you're doing this exercise, we have a little thing on this in the workbook that I can send out to you. 45% of your income. However much money you make before taxes, times that by 45%. So it's almost half. Almost half of your income before taxes. That's what banks can use to qualify you for a home. But you have to remember, this includes all your car loans, all your credit card loans, all your student loans, all your installment, furniture loans, and your house. So if you have a $1,000 car payment, and that takes up half of your income, we won't be able to qualify you on paper for a home, which is why you want to use your credit wisely. You don't want to have too many open accounts, especially if it's going to take up most of your income. So now that we have the home section taken care of, the next part of financial freedom is investing for your future. That means that can be many things like stocks and bonds and cash and IRAs, retirement accounts, CDs and saving bonds and savings accounts and things like that. And there's different tax advantages, which is step 8 to different things of these. One thing I'm going to say about this, that's the most important part, is that if your work has a retirement plan, please sign up for it. Sometimes they'll match the money, sometimes they'll match a certain percentage of the money that you put in there, and that's free money that they're giving you. And that's a great way to budget money too, is that you can go ahead and talk with your HR and get with your employer and then have a set money of your income go straight to a savings account. So that way you never see it. That way you don't have to worry about putting that money into a savings account. It's already going there. So if you have an IRA at your work that you can take advantage of, please do so. And if you don't, you can set up your own account outside of work. That is very beneficial, very helpful for everybody too. And step 9 is insurance, which is a little backwards. Some people think this will be more in the beginning because you want to take care of yourself. And I will say, if you have a family, if you have a kid, if you have a wife, definitely look into insurance because you don't want to leave them with a financial burden if for some reason, God forbid, you pass as well. So there's so many different types of insurance. Renter's insurance, if you're renting a house, is very smart because it's a low cost, $5 to $10 a month it could be, and you're protected from a robbery or a damage. Auto insurance, legal, you have to have that. Health insurance, look into, especially if it's a combined life insurance with your family. Homeowners insurance is a requirement to have. Disability, long-term, and umbrella policies are all things that you can look into if you have the money to spend towards that. And then step 10 is keep good records. You want to make sure that you're keeping files for at least 5 years. 5 to 7 years is recommended. And then one thing that goes along with good records is good advice. So if there's anything that you remember from this talk today, or if you're just tuning in and you're looking for the best pieces of information, this is where it's going to be. So if you want to learn as much as you can on your own, you want to be able to constantly seek out that knowledge and make sure you're constantly informing yourself. Communicate with family members. Be open, especially if there's somebody that's a little bit ahead of you or that you want to be in their spot. Talk with them. Be smart and seek guidance. I'm not an investment professional. I don't know how to play the stock market. So I'll let someone take care of that for me because they're the professional in that. And then use your available resources and have some fun. And then the other little tidbits that I'll say is that pay yourself first. Make sure that you're saving up some money. Saving is that muscle that can build your financial freedom, especially if you're disciplined about it. So if there's any questions, feel free to contact Leganzi. Feel free to contact myself. Feel free to message me at pramirez@my100bank.com. My personal cell phone is 870-530-6811. If you want to get any information on these packets, or especially if you're interested in coming to the next class. So we're going to do this again, February 3rd, here at KLEK office. And what was the time that we decided on for Friday? I can check real quick. You can all stick around with me.
Yeah, that's fine. And of course, while he's doing that, you can also go on our website, klekfm.org, or just simply contact us, inboxes, and we can get you the information. Yes. We can definitely pass it along. And Pedro will be happy to answer any questions that you have. Of course, if you watch this video later, please share it. So we'd love to have as many people as possible watch this and get information, because this is what we do here at KLEK. We partner with different businesses and organizations in the community to bring you this information, because our motto is to educate, entertain, and empower. Well, that's all I have. Pedro, do you have anything else?
February 3rd, 6 p.m. here at the KLEK office. We hope to see you there. Oh,
also, he brought these cookies. So if you're watching, if nothing else, come get some of these cookies, because I'm starting to gain some of my weight back. So come get these cookies, y'all. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.